one of the world's leading private prison companies, the Corrections Corporation of America, has agreed this week on Tuesday to compensate Idaho $1 million for thousands of hours of falsified staffing records, which resulted in key security positions often being left completely vacant at the Idaho State Penitentiary. The Idaho Correctional Center, under the CCA's chronic understaffing and inadequate security presence, has caused the safety of both the staff and the prisoners to be in jeopardy, and has led to the prison's new nickname, quote, the Gladiator School, because staff have allegedly encouraged fighting between prisoners as a form of prison management. Some of the prison guards, however, have also filed suit against the CCA for having unsafe working conditions. Of course, with less security on staff, there are less personnel to make sure that the prisoners themselves do not get out of hand and attack the prison guards. Corrections Corporation of America has admitted that they have falsely recorded over 4,800 hours worth of security staff positions that were actually left completely vacant at the Idaho Correctional Center. Essentially, they were running a ghost staff. Very cheap labor. September, a federal judge held them in contempt for failing to comply with an earlier lawsuit a couple years ago requiring them to make staff and monitoring improvements. The judge said that this, quote, non-compliance was far worse than the report of 4,800 hours would lead one to believe. A KPMG audit obtained by the Associated Press on Wednesday has showed that more than 26,000 security guard post hours went unstaffed or understaffed in 2012 alone, and the study also noted that these numbers are probably rather low, considering that there was a lot of unverifiable data that was left out of the equation. Idaho has thus decided to end its $29 million contract with the CCA after it expired in June, and the State Department is set to take over managing the facility. This is one of 4 contracts lost by the CCA in just a month's time due to their record of neglect, abuse, and fraud. The CEO of Corrections Corporations of America, Damon Hinninger, however, has decided to look on the bright side of things and was caught assuring an investor over the phone that demand for beds will be strong because of new immigration reform. Another firm, GEO Group, projects, quote, growing offender populations in the future, partly related to the new immigration laws. So basically, is there anything that can break down these private prison corporations? And isn't this the kind of thing that's inevitable when there is a profit motive behind putting people behind bars? So what do you guys think?
Ooh, it's a pretty damning article, if you ask me. It's pretty unbelievable.
You know, this is one of those things where it's actually kind of a good thing that they're losing their contract, CCA. Like, Corrections Corporations of America, and I just have to do this as sort of an aside, it sounds like one of the evil corporations, like that you find from like Resident Evil. It's almost like Umbrella, but worse. Because it's actually imprisoning people for a profit, right? So it's pretty terrible. But I love how they say that, don't worry, demand for the beds will be strong. You know why? Because we're going to get all them immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. That's horrible.
And also the fact that these I'm sorry to interrupt, but the fact that these corporations actually lobby for these laws to be signed into law because it actually does benefit them. So they're actually behind some of these laws that are going to start taking into effect.
Well, here's another good thing too, and it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing because I'm a liberal. I believe in immigration reform and everything, and I think it'd be a good thing, pathway to citizenship, whatever, all that stuff. But yet, the House, the Republican House, has completely blocked all of that. But it's kind of good because what are you going to do now, Geo Group? you're depending on these immigration laws, and
Hmm.
in order to fill your beds, now you're kind of getting shut down.
And the CEA does and the CCA does impose quotas in their state contracts to ensure that their beds are filled. So,
Of course.
that's a terrible idea because you want to lock people up based on how many violent offenders there are that need to be locked up, not on how many empty beds there are that need to be filled.
Well, that's the issue with the profit motive. Susie, why don't you jump in? Or
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to say. I mean, like I said, I think the article is pretty damning. It's people taking advantage of a situation that, as it stands, you're talking about people going to jail, which means they've either done harm to others or posed great harm to themselves, or, I mean, mostly it's to have done harm to others. So inherently, it's a sad and difficult situation to begin with. So to take advantage of something like that is just really upsetting, quite honestly. It's really sad that they felt it was necessary to do that, and that there's not a ton of accountability at the end of the day, and
Right,
that is
there isn't.
a real shame.
Yeah, there isn't really a lot of accountability, is there? And I have to imagine that being one of the largest prison corporations in the world, not just in the country, that $1 million in compensation is minuscule for them.
Yeah,
that's chump change.
yeah, it's not. That's sort of paying lip service, right? And it's not actually addressing the issue, and it's obviously not an equivalent to the wrong that was done. It's just not. I'm not being particularly funny. Normally I'm funny, but this is sort of a serious topic, so
It's
I'm
pretty
not.
difficult.
There's no way to really like jazz it up. Like, yeah, prisons are hilarious.
Right.
It's a little tough to do that. So, what?
I don't think there's a whole lot you can do to put any sort of humor into it. I mean, it's a terrible situation, and
Yeah.
and there's huge problems with just the way that we run our prison system here in America at all.
Totally.
I mean, just the fact that you have these prison corporations coming in and saying, we can save you all sorts of money, just give us a contract that makes sure that we have 100% occupancy. Oh, now you have to pass new tough on crime laws. Now you have to go and put more people in prison for nonviolent drug offenses, for example.
Right.
And
Right.
stupid things like that in order to meet those quotas. And then, to top it off, these prisons, these for-profit prisons, don't even save you any money.
Mm-mm.
It's ridiculous.
No, they make themselves plenty of money, because they create this quota system, and then they lobby to pass laws that are going to make things harder on people, make more people criminals. Of course they lobby for tougher drug laws too, because non-violent drug offenses, those are people that are kind of easier to handle, and they're good for filling beds.
And that's really the whole point, is just to fill beds and to fill pockets.
I mean, I live in California, and there's a well-known problem with the prison system here, right? There's extreme overcrowding. It's I know every state struggles, but it's a particular struggle here in California, and I think a lot, I think, often comes down to the I mean, I am extremely pro-union, so I don't want this to sound it, but oftentimes I think there's the prison guard union that's a great advocate for filling the beds and for keeping prisoners in prisons. And so it's a complicated issue, and that's why I really preface with, I'm a supporter of unions, and I believe the prison guards have every right to have a union and keep their jobs, and the good ones do great work. So I really want to make that clear. But there is an issue, and many people, not myself, I'm not the first one to say that's an issue.
Yeah, it's sort of a big struggle between, having enough jobs for people, because whenever you build up an industry around something terrible,
Right.
that the desire, the need to keep it going, to keep it operating, to keep it,
Right.
because there are now people's families that are depending on the
Hmm.
income from that industry. I mean, think of the the military-industrial complex. To get
Hmm.
too far off in the weeds, but it's a lot like the prison-industrial complex, where now you have people's livelihoods tied up into throwing people in prison or making tanks that we don't need or weapons, guns, or all that kind of stuff that we don't really need for the military.
Right.
You get all this stuff, this industry built up around it, and now you can't take it away.
Yeah.
And that really hurts the whole prison population because recidivism rates, they're going to
Hmm.
continue to either stay the same or rise. We're not rehabilitating people. It's a punitive system, and it's just a disaster all around.
Right.
Right,
Mhm.
absolutely. We're making criminals out of our people rather than trying to rehabilitate them. That's what we're doing. We're creating a system where um, they're caught in a cycle.
Hmm.
Right.
And it's a disastrous cycle indeed.
Yeah. No, it's a scary. It's scary for everyone, right? It's a complicated issue, and again, I'm not particularly entertaining right now because we're talking about the prisons, but it is. I mean, it's a really serious issue, and it's where a lot of our money goes, and it's where a lot of taxpayer money goes, and you have to balance, safety in society with, what should people be going to prison for, and then, what can we do to rehabilitate them? People are not lost souls necessarily. And there are a lot of opportunities to help people recover. There are a lot of arts programs that are fantastic for helping with recidivism rates. Right? There are ways to reach people who may be considered lost, but we just don't spend enough time. Maybe it's time, maybe it's money. We sort of think of people in jail as sort of lost citizens, and I don't think we should do that. We should look at people as as fixable, right? Second chance, the American dream, right? Give everyone the shot to really get it. Um, so I think that's part of what's missing.
All right.
Absolutely, and I think that also speaks a lot to the core of the problem, which which is the educational system and how we take care of our people to begin with. We let them become born into poverty, and then we starve
Hmm.
them, and we send them to inadequate, overcrowded schools that don't teach them very well. If we gave our people more of an enriching beginning, then perhaps they would not go so often to um,
Yeah,
crime and such
absolutely.
things, and of course eliminating the drug war and restrictive drug laws and treating addiction more as a medical problem rather than a criminal issue would also, of course, eliminate a lot of the people in our jail system.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip, make sure to like and leave a comment below, or even share. Sharing is caring. If you want to see more TYT Nation videos, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TYT Nation. Thank you for watching.